A rich man decided to sell his palace without asking for a single dollar. But there was one condition. The couple who would buy it were not allowed to open the basement in the garden that's all the way in the back. If they keep this promise, the house will be theirs. But if the basement opens, the palace must return to the man. The couple was rich. Remember that the man was joking. He did not give any explanation for his words, all he said was that it was late, and he allowed them to stay for one night. In the palace, the next morning, the rich man was walking on the table. The couple found a contract for the house with the same condition, exactly as they said the night before, and this is where the story begins. Anyway, the wife was flying with joy, but the husband was feeling uneasy. He couldn't. Is it possible that someone could give a house for free like this, without there being a hidden trap? In his mind, there must be something terrifying hidden inside the basement, and this is part of a smart fraud scheme. Shortly after, a real estate agent sent the rich man and confirmed that everything was real. And legally, as long as the contract is signed, the property will officially belong to the couple. The husband repeated and tried to warn his wife, but she refused to listen to him, and since they are not going to pay anything. And in the end, a contract was signed, and just like that, the palace became theirs. But after they moved into it, strange things started happening during the dorm party. Suddenly, several strange incidents happened at the party. Alyssa suddenly appeared on John's face expressions. She changed at the time. Alyssa was his old girlfriend, and at one time she was crazy about him to a dangerous extent. After it happened, I had an abortion in the past. John cut off all his ties with Alyssa. Seeing her again made him feel anxious. He took Alyssa aside in a quiet corner and confronted her. Why did she come here? She claimed she was invited by a friend, and she assured that she had no bad intentions. Suddenly, Sarah screamed in anxiety. It was heard. Who's outside? John is hanging out outside the house. No, a strange man is standing in the garden. And he's holding a petrol can. The man warned John that the house must. He will burn immediately if he doesn't destroy the witch's house. John will face a terrible fate. Despite the warning, no one took the man's words seriously, and the next day, and Sarah is getting ready to leave the house. Their neighbor was very talkative. She greeted her. It was clear that she was kind at first. But before she left, they broke. She said in a low voice that she wished the couple could survive while living in the house. This strange comment left Sarah confused. And she is thinking about what she meant. At this time, when John got to work, he immediately noticed that everyone was looking at him. Alyssa approached a complaint to Human Resources accusing him of harassment and saying that she doesn't feel safe. She works with him in the same office. This accusation was completely fabricated and intended to ruin his life. His marriage. John tried to explain the truth, but the company suspended him from work until the investigation is over, and, as if he had no other choice, he went back home. This situation made him very stressed. He was falsely accused. At the same time, he needed a large amount of the money for Sarah's fertility treatment. If this harassment accusation reached Sarah, his life could completely collapse. Then, while he was trying to calm himself with the heritage, John's eye accidentally fell on the basement door. The sight, it immediately brought back the idea that had. He started asking himself again, who could be hiding down there? And he was still stressed and had nothing to do. His curiosity grew even more. And the next day, he decided to try to open the basement door by himself. Unfortunately, the door didn't move at all. It was locked so tightly that he couldn't open it. And because John used to daydream a lot, and it was obvious that he was distracted, Sarah began to notice that something was wrong. In the end, John pointed at the door, the basement, and they insisted that they must see what was inside it. But Sarah had already settled into life in the mansion. She didn't want to risk losing the house. So that's why I refused immediately and warned him not to touch it. The next day, John went out to run. Again, this time he made a bold decision and called. Alyssa left him a message asking to meet her. After that, the idea of the basement kept haunting him. If the main door refuses to open, then for sure, there is another way to enter, and this idea came to his mind. He went to the city planning office to request the house's architectural drawings. Fortunately, the office still had the building's maps. While he was reviewing the files, the employee mentioned in the middle of the conversation that there was an old owner named Paul McManus had requested the same drawings before, but he never got them back upon hearing that name. He surprised John, as far as she knew, at a royal palace. The employee became even more confused when he heard the name Kamat. And based on what he said, more than a year has passed without someone brings up the topic of that man. The employee then told a small story about a past that happened a long time ago. They held a fancy wedding party in the city, but shortly after the marriage, his wife suddenly left him, and after she disappeared, no one ever saw her again. And when John studied the drawings, he discovered a second possible entrance. This entrance is located under the stairs. When he checked this place in the house, he found the passage blocked with wooden boards. And this made him have to let go of his worries, and as soon as the wood was removed, he was able to pull it inside, but even there, the path leading to the basement was blocked. Secondly, and he is still John Karam's designer. A small hole so he can look inside through it. Unfortunately, he can't see anything. Sarah appeared. Suddenly, he will have to leave quickly before she notices. What did he do? And at night, on the same day, John received a phone call from Alice back. She immediately called him, and they agreed to meet. The next day, they met inside the opposing car's garage quickly. She became tense and nervous. She had still decided to. John scolded her. She claimed that he was supposed to stay with her all the time. John explained to her that he loves his wife and has no intention of leaving. When Sarah realized that she wouldn't be able to change his mind, Elisa threatened to expose their old relationship and ruin his life. John responded with a warning from him if Elisa tried to get close to him, Sarah at any time, the consequences will be deadly. After that a few days passed and John preferred to spend. He was daydreaming in his thoughts. And he used to go out a lot, running for long periods, and at that time, Sarah was focused on designing the nursery for their upcoming child despite she wasn't pregnant yet, and in Egypt, she suddenly felt that she wanted to return. And out of curiosity, she decided to take a test. The pregnancy, to her happiness, the result came out positive. Sarah became pregnant without completing the artificial insemination program. And from so much the joy, she accidentally dropped the test analysis. And when she went to pick it up for a moment, the paper was wrapped and hidden under the bed. That paper. She took out the house plans. At that moment, Sarah inferred that John was definitely investigating the basement issue. Secretly, she studied the plans, and she saw the exact path that leads to the basement. The signs showed that the passages had indeed opened. And at the same time, Elisa reached the house. Suddenly, her intention was clear. She wanted to destroy the marriage between Benjun and Sarah. She knocked on the door but no one answered, and when she still didn't find a reply, she decided. She enters the house herself. And in the end, she went up to the floor above there and found Sarah's pregnancy test. The scene shocked her. Elsa began to break down before. Don't leave the house quickly. After a little while, Sarah came out of the basement corridor and immediately noticed that the door in front was left open. At that time, John was running on the side of the road while talking to his coworker on the phone, and as he was finishing the call, he suddenly found Elisa's car is moving away from the direction of the house. We immediately assumed that Elisa did something to Sarah. Without hesitation, he started moving and chased the car, but what happened in that chase? It remained unclear, and by the time the day ended, John returned home late at night. When he arrived, Sarah was. She was very angry that my neighbor continued until the night. But before the fight escalated, Sarah told him the news that she was pregnant. This news, completely different from death, and the topic of Miss visiting the house will not be brought up again. And since Sarah had already realized that John tried to break into the basement, I firmly asked him to stop thinking about the matter now while she is pregnant. She doesn't want to risk losing the palace. And in the end, John, he agreed even though he wasn't willing and let the matter pass. Then the couple went back and set up the baby's room together. And after a while John received a phone call. The company informed him that the investigation concluded and that he is innocent of all charges. And it remained officially allowed for him to return to work. And after a few days when John returned to the office and one of his colleagues told him that Elsa had taken a leave and said that she needs time to recover, and every time the company you were trying to contact her regarding the harassment case, she wasn't responding, and then John and Sarah continued working in the baby's room. John discovered it by accident. A small hole hidden behind a panel. And when they saw it up close, they found a bullet stuck inside the wall. The discovery made him feel faint. Paranoia. And he was afraid again immediately in his mind. Everything started to connect together. It happened. And the locked basement and the old story about his wife. The one who disappeared. John began to believe that he had uncovered the truth. He became convinced that either his wife killed and hid her body somewhere in the basement. And after a few days, John was at work. The police suddenly arrived at his office asking about Al's clock. It turned out there was a report that it was missing. Her car. I found her abandoned next to a lake far from the city. Until now, the authorities suspect that Elsa might have done something reckless to herself. John. He can't stop himself from feeling anxious. The last thing he wanted was to get involved in the investigation, especially if his old relationship with Al's was. It was discovered at that time, Sarah before she increased. They could drink coffee, and in the middle of their conversation, Sarah finally asked what she meant by increase. When she said she wishes they could survive in the house. She explained that there are several families who lived here before. But no one. He stayed with them for a long time. The last family was the Bowl McManus family. And according to many, every family eventually stays at home. Suddenly, it's as if their relationships fell apart after they moved in. While they were talking, a news report appeared on the television about a disappearance that just happened. And they indeed found her car. And at night, at dinnertime, Sarah brought up the topic of Alyssa's news. Joe. We share with her the information he heard from the police and his colleagues at work, but Sarah remembered something. She said it many times before. She had said many times that she sees John a lot when he is running. This comment made Sarah really aware of what's actually happening with her husband, and calmly decided to open her laptop. John and his emails. There she found a message about being stopped from work because of the accusations she made. Sarah also just looked in. Call logs. And a moment of such a call between John and Elisa. This discovery made her ask herself if John had any connection to Elisa's disappearance. And, at the same time, John Faisal was obsessed with the bullet he found, comparing it to the bullets in the gun collection. He understood that they were the same. Exactly, and then John tried to explain his theory to Sarah, but Sarah refused to listen, and insisted that there was nothing strange about the matter while they were arguing. The doorbell. It rang suddenly. The police were standing outside and the officers were asking. Sarah was listening quietly while she was close to them, and during the conversation it became. It's clear that John had a secret relationship. At some point in time. After that, the police questioned John. Where was he that day, Alice? Did Johnny disappear? Support? We spent the whole day at home. Officers. They asked for proof to confirm his words at that moment. Sarah approached and confirmed that her husband. She was really with him at home all day. After the police left, the tension between them increased. And Sarah exploded. Finally, their fighting became intense. And in the end, Sarah came to the conclusion of fear. In her mind, surely, John is responsible for Les's disappearance. John's thoughts started to become clear. More chaos than the minute hand stuck at 0 for the palace. And his life is gradually falling apart and he needs answers. Essentially, he decided to look for Paul, and when he met him, finally, he realized that Paul is the same guy. The upset one who tried to burn the house before. During their conversation, Paul was struggling to explain. Everything is clear, but there was one message that was clear. The basement door must be opened. We'll ask him if Paul also signed the same contract. While he was living there, Paul admitted that signing this contract was the biggest regret of his life. In the end, he says John was faced with two choices with Logan. I want peace. He must leave the house. Otherwise, the only way is for him to open the basement door. After he met John, he ran to the house. And he began to insist to Sarah. They will leave the house immediately. But Sarah refused the idea of leaving and giving up the palace. So luxurious and expensive, not a penny. This is something she can't. He accepted it. John had finally reached his limit. He was going to die. And run away from the house while they were determined. She was everything. He decided to break the basement lock himself. And in the moment to lock it, Sarah got broken. She suddenly hit him on the head. John fell and lost consciousness. And when Sarah appeared hypocritical, she took Elisa's mobile in. I revealed the truth to him, and she was watching the basement. The ones inside had opened before? I heard strange sounds and the sound of the house door opening, and I feel like someone entered the house. Sarah armed herself with a weapon from an old valuable set, and went to see what was going on. And when she arrived, for the main role, Elsa discovered the jewel of the house. Elsa, who was still obsessed and unstable. She didn't intend to leave John alone, she moved. Because she attacked Sarah, and this made Sarah have to Shoot her in self-defense. One of the bullets hit the wall. After she said, Sarah died, the body was wrapped and hidden inside the basement. And the car whose tires are flat. Before this, Sarah was the one driving it, in fact. In the end, John lost the car during the chase. At an intersection, Sarah stopped the car beside a calm lake far from the city. And get rid of suspicions by sending a fake email from Alice's office account to show that she is still on vacation and has resigned from her job until now. Everything is going according to its plan. John, after hearing the whole story, he decided that he wouldn't be able to stay silent. He planned to report to the police about everything and leave Sarah. But before he could move, Sarah suddenly pointed the gun at him and ordered him to sit. She explained to him that no one would believe his story is like this anyway. And if he goes to the police, for sure they will assume that John is the one who killed. He gave himself up, even stated how the story happened. It will go through. How? According to her story, John was the one who shot Elisa after she discovered his affair. She confronted him with it while he was listening to all of this. John, he was shocked. He never imagined that his wife could be capable of something cold and planned like that. In the end, Sarah chose him. Either they continue their life together as a family, or she will raise the child alone after he kills him, and he had no one in front of him. John, he had no one in front of him. Choice, but he accepts the situation, and then after a few months, the couple held a party for the 7th month of Sarah's pregnancy. From the outside, everything was visible. He is natural in prisons, he was not the same man he was before. And during the party, they received a package from Emmett inside. It was, in his answer, a key to the basement door, and when the basements were opened, they finally discovered something that was completely unexpected. The basement was either empty. She explains that the locked basement was never intended to hide anything. It was just a test for the couple. And because they are safe from everything without opening it before they receive the key, they have thus proven themselves. And as a result, so the palace is now completely theirs. So the moral of the story is that if someone gives you a gift with a condition, please execute the condition and don't mess around or go around like detectives. And this is the end of the movie, and we'll meet in a new summary. Thank you for watching.